The Atlanta Falcons should be all in on trading for Myles Garrett. We're exploring that and more on Takes to close out the week on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Joe, very entertaining game last night. I'm sure we have some takes relating to, in some way, shape, or form, Minnesota going down to the Rams. The Rams, critical win for them. Obviously, controversial play at the end of the game. Christian Darrisaw goes down for the Vikings. That's a bummer. But you know the takes. And Takes on Takes is Joe solicits your hot takes. You guys submit them, and then we react to them. So something about a post-Detroit Lions game hangover, referred to as the Honolulu flu, right? Because they wear Honolulu blues. Mm-hmm. And then this Myles Garrett continuing trade deadline speculation. Somebody feels very strongly that the Falcons are the spot. So let's get into it.
All right. That one comes from AJ. The take here from AJ is the Falcons should spend every draft pick on a pass rusher until they finish in the top half of the league in pressure rate. This is only 35% of an exaggeration. And I think I've kind of taken the liberty to extend this to, if there's a team that should trade for Myles Garrett, it's the Atlanta Falcons. Think about the investments, dude. Like over the last 10 years, it feels like. Going back to like Vic Peasley and Tock McKinley and signing like free agent flops that they've brought in, they have not been able to find edge rush. They've invested like higher draft picks. Go get a proven commodity. Right now, you have Kirk Cousins like on this deal. Like you're all in on this season. This is the Myles Garrett spot for me.
All right, so I'm doing the thing, and I'm looking at it. If you're going to do what is going to be required to get Myles Garrett, you're going to have to give up a lot of assets, right? A lot of draft picks, early draft picks. So you want to make sure the rest of your roster is in a place where the nucleus of it is going to be able to stand up over the next couple of years. So they have the young quarterback waiting in the wings. I think that's an important piece of the puzzle to justify this. You have Bijan Robinson on a rookie contract. You have Drake London with player control in 2025 and then a fifth-year option in 2026. You have Kyle Pitts is in a contract year next year. Their offensive line, Matthews is locked up long-term. Kayla McGarry's through 2025. Chris Lindstrom's locked up long-term. Matthew Bergeron on a rookie contract. I think I can get here. I think we have enough of like the nucleus of the team. Bates is locked in long-term. AJ Terrell's locked in long-term. I'd be a little worried about like the secondary if you have limited resources because Simmons is on a 1-year deal. Richie Grant's an expiring contract. Hughes, Hamilton, Kevin Kate. Like there's names, and I know not a lot of them are like good names, but like you'd have to overhaul that group. So you just have to make sure that you have that answer, or Myles Garrett solves that problem for you and you just roll that way.
Yeah, it's not like they're not going to have anything left to balance out their roster, but yeah, go get Myles Garrett. This has got to be such a tired conversation with Falcons and edge rushers. So I think they should be the team that does it.
That'd be great.
Joe at Work, the best handle out there. Joe at Work says the Jets should hire John Dorsey as their next GM. Was with the Packers when they drafted Rodgers, took Mahomes over Watson when everyone said he was wrong, and Baker over Darnold. Just ignore Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. He's been with the Lions the last 3 years. You think that this should be a guy that the Jets think about to be their next GM?
I feel like John Dorsey, he's at his best with, like, if I remember correctly, he is a big time like wheeler and dealer. And I feel like he's really
risks.
good. I feel like he's really good with like an initial infusion into rosters. But
then you got to get him out.
Right. I think that's the thing with John Dorsey is that the body of work suggests there's a nice spike in influx, but then as it goes over an extended period of time, the risks come back and they bite you a little bit more. So would you like somebody with maybe a little bit better chance of successfully building a long-term, having like a long-term successful program? I think ideally you would. I think John Dorsey has some really attractive qualities as an executive.
Right.
But I think he's done it long enough and been around in enough spots that you kind of know what you're getting there. And I don't think that you should expect him to change his stripes.
I agree with that. I do think that there's something to the Jets with whatever they do with their next regime, having some experience that comes with it. I think we've seen the revolving door with that organization for a long time. And I think there's something very challenging about running it based on expectations and pressure. I think that's very real. And so if you could find the right experienced GM, I think that would make a lot of sense. Now, you never know, right? You roll the dice. Next thing you know, you get a Brad Holmes, right? And it's like, yeah, that was definitely the right choice. But it could also not be that, right? We see plenty of guys kind of flame out. So they got to get it right, dude.
Do you know where John Dorsey's at right now?
Detroit.
Yeah.
For the last 3 years. Yeah.
Good spot to be.
Yeah. All right. How about this one from Jose? This could be my favorite take we've ever received.
So this is the takey?
It might be. Starting football games an hour earlier would make it easier for both East and West Coast to consume. Is this the answer? Because I always find ways to complain about the time that these games starts. If you just go 12, 3, and 7:30, that's better. That's better than 1, 4, and 8:30, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll take anything.
Anything other than the status quo?
Anything other than trying to fight sleep while I've been awake since 4:30 a.m. to make it to the end of a primetime game. I want to watch them, man. I don't want to fall asleep. I don't want to. But
get up and walk around.
You're not wrong about that. That's
get up and walk around.
I should. Halftime kills me every time, man.
That's why I'm fired up about we have the starting to work on the garage gym setup. We've got a bike out there. I also have like a one of the old rocking chairs for one of the rooms that we have sits out there, so I can sit out there. I can walk around out there. I can ride the bike out there.
You have a TV out there?
Yeah. Mounted on the wall in the garage.
That's clutch. Okay, now that's
now door open and
just get some sets in, bro. I might be in on this. What am I doing? Up. Well, I mean, I have everything but the TV.
I got to come up this weekend. I'm going to Miami, but
I got a full gym out there already. I just need to get the.
You need to get TV on the wall out there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. This has been a very productive segment for me. Mm-hmm. One more here. This one from August. Only one NFC West team makes the playoffs for the first time since 2017. It's interesting timing to invoke that as the Rams get that big win and everything looks really tight there.
Yeah, dude.
Well, first of all, they've had multiple playoff teams every year since 2017. I think that's kind of impressive, Is that really true?
It was Rams and 49ers have been staples with Shanahan and McVay. And then when McVay had the down year in 21.
Seattle was always a playoff team with Russ, right? I'm sure it's true, but the point is, dude, is this the year that only one goes?
I need to have answers here before I can answer this question. So last year, it was Rams and 49ers made the playoffs. In 2022, it was the 49ers and the Seahawks were 9-8 when the first year without Russ, and they made the playoffs. And they lost to the 49ers in the wild card round. And then 2021, 49ers, Rams, and Cardinals all made the playoffs. That 49ers team in 21 was 10-7 and finished third in the division. And in 2020, I know you don't need to know this, but I need to know this. The Cardinals win 12-4 and the Rams win 10-6 when the 49ers had their down year after they played in the Super Bowl in 2019. And the Seahawks also went to the playoffs that year as well. In 2018, I'm assuming this is, Rams, Seahawks. And then 2017 was just the Rams. Seahawks missed it 9-7.
So just one this year or not?
No.
So you get one from the north, one from the south. I think you get two from the east.
You're going to get two from the
north. So you have room for two.
And two from the west.
I think two.
I'm just not going to fade all these teams that have kind of been there, done that in the West, whether it's the Rams that are now 3-4 or the 49ers who are at 3-4. Seattle has the game up advantage. I think they got a likable schedule. I think there's too much there, and those teams in the North all have to play each other.
Yeah. I think two make it. All right, come up on the other side of it. We're talking about the Honolulu flu and a lot more. Be sure to stick with us. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and then watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks also puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get money in as quick as 15 minutes. So check it out. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL and Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Pre-alcohol probiotic drink by Z-Biotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Here's how you use it. Step 1, drink pre-alcohol. For the best results, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself, hydrate, and get a good night's sleep. Step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LockedOnNFL at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off.
The Honolulu Blue Flu.
Here it is from Waka Flocka Bach. I hope, you never know. You never know.
What to think. I'm going to say you nailed it.
All right. The Lions hangover is real. And he pretty much tells us it is, because here are the results for all the Lions opponents the week after they play Detroit. Rams lose 41-10 to the Cardinals. Bucks lose 26-7 to the Broncos. Cards lose 42-14 to the Commanders. Seahawks lose 29-20 to the Giants at Lumen Field. Cowboys had a bye. They play the 49ers this week. Vikings lose 30-20 to the Rams. You buying this? The Honolulu flu.
Yeah, a simple Twitter search of Honolulu Blue Flu. Some people call it Honolulu Blue Flu. I think that's what the Detroit Times put it as. The Detroit Times. Behold the Honolulu Blue Flu. Teams are now 0-5 after playing the Lions. Also referred to as the Honolulu Flu. There's teams, the 49ers were this last year, right?
They've been this, in the past for sure.
This intense experience to play against with a lot of physicality and the exertion that's required and then the letdown on the other side of that. I think there's dynamics like this that are real. I think some of this is based off of a schedule to some degree. I can't sit here and say I think every team's going to go 0-16 the week after they play the Lions all season long. But yeah, there's certain teams that they take a lot out of you, and then there's carryover that comes from that. And I think Detroit is looking like that team this year. I think it is real.
It's almost like toughness matters in the NFL. People don't like to talk about that or mention that, but there's a toughness that matters. Wow, weird. Price says the red zone, NFL red zone, is a watered down product, especially after the first Sunday slate. Useless in the late afternoon slate anymore. Tailgate zone for plus or minus 10 hours of college football would be far superior.
Chaotic for sure.
It'd be almost too much to deal with, right?
Right. Right. Just get a couple TVs, get a couple screens, and put a couple games on that you care about. I don't know. I know I am not the target audience for Red Zone. I don't watch Red Zone because I like to watch the story of the entire game. I'm not interested in the fantasy pop plays or opportunities in the red zone, right? Like I want to know the whole flow of the game for whatever game I choose to pick. So I'm a bad person to ask because like I really don't care. I have no emotional reaction to the idea of 13 hours of commercial free football or whatever it is. Like it's not for me.
I tend to agree with you. For what I think red zone, where I find it helpful for me is I do want to have one game of primary focus. So to have it on a second screen to just be able to kind of see some of that stuff is helpful. But I am very much, if you're not watching one game, you're not watching any games. That's the way that I look at it. Mm-hmm. So it's a supplemental resource for me to kind of see some of the big moments. But I still have what I call as the game of primary focus.
Right.
But yeah, no, some of these 4 o'clock slates where there's like 2 or 3 games and then like one of them's out of hand. It's like, yeah, this is pointless. This is absolutely pointless.
Right.
August comes in with an interesting one here. August yeah, I wanted to get to because this one was compelling.
This is okay. All right.
I'm the take master, so I get to choose. Soup is a top tier food, extremely versatile dish that can be made a number of different ways since it's loved across all cultures. I had soup for dinner last night, so this speaks to me.
Okay.
This is where I'm at.
What's the soup you get excited about?
That's exactly what my take is. None of them. I'm never excited about having soup. But when you have the soup, you're like, you know what? That was really good. I'm glad I had that. It's never like overly filling. It's like, it's good. It's savory. But I'm never excited about it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I like chili.
But it's not a soup, or it is a soup?
I don't know. I don't know what the definition of soup is.
Oh, Lord, this is the new hot dog as a sandwich. Is chili a soup?
Whatever. Google is the authority here, obviously. I think we need to know what the definition
Whether chili is a soup or a stew depends on how it's prepared in the ratio of liquid to
God bless it. I regret this.
If chili is braised with meat like brisket or chuck beef and vegetables and beans are added at the end of the cooking, it's considered stew. Stew has less liquid than soups. If chili is made by browning ground meat and then adding liquid beans and vegetables is considered soup. Soups are primarily liquid-based with enough liquid to fill a bowl and ingredients to float.
Point being, stews or soups, are they top-tier foods? Or like, you kind of with me, it's like, I never get excited about it, but I'm never mad once I have it.
I like soup.
You're like excited. You're like, hey, you know,
I'm not like, I'm really jonesing for some soup today, but
some some chicken gnocchi or whatever.
Gnocchi.
Whatever the heck that's. I went for it. I shouldn't have done that, obviously. My wife made some soup last night that I couldn't tell you the name of it, but it was good.
What kind of soup? What was in it?
Sausage, beans, squash, like little like noodles that looked like beads, kind of. I don't know. It was delicious. I loved it. Have you watched this?
I love
what?
I love wonton soup.
There you go.
You like wonton soup?
I never get it, but I'm sure if I had it, I would.
Can you promise me next time you get it? You get like the dumplings and the.
Yeah, my wife gets it a lot, but I'm like, I don't know. I want rice and meat. That's what I want instead. So, have you watched this West Virginia tackle? Because if not, it's this really not going to work out. Wyatt Milum.
Wyatt Milum. Yeah,
there's a take here that Jim says that he's.
I disagree with Jim. I saw this thing.
Tackle one. Is he good?
He's not tackle one. I think he's a guard.
Oh boy.
So
come on, we don't have one damn good tackle in this class. Kyle
Doesn't have great foot speed, and he doesn't have good length.
It's all right.
And he plays a run-heavy offense with a mobile quarterback. You know who he reminds me of? Lee Meichenberg. That's who he reminds me of.
All right. This next one, I really want your take on this because I have a very passionate opinion on this. Alan says Keon Coleman would be best in the slot. This is a big debate in the world of Bills fans. I want your take on this.
Yes. Big slot, more space to work. Physicality can really shine. Not unbothered by catch radius and catching with bodies around him. Yes.
My take on this is Maybe. I don't think it makes the Bills' offense better, though.
You're not wrong on that
Right.
either, because
So
you've got
it's
a bunch of middle of the field receivers that can play in the slot.
I'm not going to do a thing that takes slot reps away from Khalil Shakir, who's been like the most efficient receiver in football the last year and a half.
What's going on with Dalton Kincaid? As an avid Dalton Kincaid fantasy owner,
you should be excited about last week. 3 for 51 down the field, baby.
Great. Oh boy.
Hey,
that's not the bill of goods I was sold, Joe.
100. You wanted 100
targets.
He might still get there. Yeah, they're sorting their way out. But maybe Keon Coleman would benefit from being in the slot. The Bills would not benefit from him being in the slot. And I don't know. They drafted him clearly with the vision to be an X receiver, and I'd like to see that come to fruition because I think that would be the most beneficial to the Bills.
You know what that what that reminds me of? It reminds me of when the Dolphins had Mike Gesicki on the franchise tag. And it was like, well, they're not using him. He's best running the seam. And it's like, yeah, you know who else is best running the seam? Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill's averaging like 3 times as many yards per target.
Sure.
Running intermediate and deep over the middle of the field. So Mike Gesicki, respectfully, you can pound sand and keep running your flat routes because I don't want you running the seams relative to Tyreek Hill when I get 3 times as many yards every time I target him in the same areas where the 2 good routes that you're capable of running as a player.
Also, Keon Coleman's played 5% of his snaps from the slot this year. He's leading the Bills in receiving. What are we doing? Like, why is this conversation? This is because Steve Smith said this, and now everyone's got to run with it. But
Steve's got a lot of pull with wide receiver content. It's very fun.
Right,
and he's generally very good with his insight.
Right. I don't know. I'm not really here for the Keon Coleman to the slot. All right, coming up on the other side of it, we're going to talk peanut butter and jelly. We're going to talk some fun ideas that people have, compare the AFC and NFC and more, so be sure to stick with us. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Last week, I told you about 2 road underdog money lines that I liked. It was the Chiefs going into San Francisco and winning. It was the Vikings losing to the Lions. So the Lions, the underdog money line that I liked. 2 that I like this week, the Eagles plus 114 at Cincinnati. I like Dallas plus 176 going into San Francisco. If you want to tell me again this week, check it out, folks. That's FanDuel.com to get that bonus and to download America's #1 sportsbook.
Few thoughts. Happy Call of Duty release date.
Oh, to Mr. Kyler Murray, the Dolphins.
I don't know if you saw this, but that line went up a point for Miami. Because they must have figured out that Call of Duty came out.
I think that's what it was.
4.5.
Man.
Also,
on a short week too for them. Monday Night Football into a road game.
Right.
Boy, better put down the sticks.
Dude, there were a number of games. I think we moved some lines, to be honest, yesterday with the show.
Really?
It feels like there's some significant line movement. So I have our sheet up here.
Okay.
And then I have FanDuel Sportsbook here. So Dolphins Cardinals moved a point. The Bengals, who the show took and I am on, they went up a point versus Philadelphia. So
let's go.
1.5 to 2.
I accepted the odd movements there too.
Yeah.
Give it to me, baby.
Yeah. So now it's
my birds.
What did you say it was for Eagles?
I locked it in myself at plus 114.
Oh, I got bad news. You got better odds now because it's plus 130. Might want to throw that slip away and come back to it. We said the show was on the Browns to cover minus or plus 9.5. It's now down to 8.5. Maybe we move that line with the show. Detroit, we all pounded Detroit. It's up to 11.5 from 10.5
on that one. Yeah.
I feel like there's another one too down here. The Bryce Young news with Denver. That's up to 10.5.
The Denver Broncos are 10.5 point favorites over anybody. That's incredible.
What a time to be alive, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's not on us, right? And then I also see happy birthday to Sierra as well.
It's Russell Wilson's wife.
Yeah. She is a top 5 most beautiful woman on the planet. That's a take. If you want to give a take on that take.
I'm not going to respond.
Here's the top 5 most beautiful woman on the planet.
You know what? I'll say this. This is my response to that take. I know some of your others in that list, and I'm always a little surprised. I'm surprised on how it stacks for you, but
top 5 most beautiful. Happy birthday, Sierra. Hope you listen to the show.
I'm not getting into this with you. Can we get to John? John says nothing is better than a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He goes PB&J sandwich. That's how he sent it on Twitter for a quick snack. Yeah, he said I said what I said.
I bet this was very controversially received in the comments. Was there anybody that chirped back?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I like peanut butter and jelly.
Nothing is better for a snack.
First of all, I'm not on that, but
dude, first of all, what a pain in the rear it's got. I don't like peanut butter and jelly, but
Uncrustables.
Okay.
Did you see the Uncrustables stat on how many?
Something about 80,000.
Yeah,
dude. But like I make these for my daughter, and boy, it makes me mad because it's like I have to like 2 different jars with a knife, right? I don't want to deal with that. And then I'm like, I have to like rinse the knife to go into the other container. It always spreads a little bit weird. I don't like peanut butter and jelly, so I don't really know like what the proper ratios are. So I can't imagine this is the number 1 snack of all time.
It's not the number 1 snack of all time, but it is a very safe way to have a yummy snack. And you should get Uncrustables then. If
the problem is that they're in our freaking freezer. So if you have to anticipate, then they take 15 minutes.
Expect you to get a give or two at some point every day.
Well, that's not true. My daughter is very inconsistent with the snacks.
She gets it. You get what you get, and if you don't want it, then
okay.
Then the dog's gonna have it.
Does that go?
Split it up for the dog.
You get what you get with your 4-year-old. No chance of that. Let's see here. Weekly Huddle coming in hot here. I haven't watched this Kurtis Rourke, but there's a lot of love out there. He says Kurtis Rourke's a better prospect than Carson Beck. I don't think much of.
You don't what? You don't think much of
I said I don't think overly high of Carson Beck, but I have not seen Kurtis Rourke, so I don't have any thoughts here. He's for Indiana?
Yeah, the Indiana quarterback had thumb surgery, so he's probably going to be out for at least a week. Transfer from Ohio. Productive player. Mobile, prototypical build, some nice anticipation and touch throws. Generally can access all areas of the field, but he's not like a pinpoint precision accuracy player in the decision making. There's like some give and take there, but he's been a big part of this infusion for Indiana this year. Rourke came in as my 7th rated quarterback when I did my quarterback rankings a few weeks ago. I've seen nothing to really change that with anybody that would pass him. I think he's like the most attractive, like developmental day 3 type player, but he's an older player. I think he's going to be 25 years old as a rookie. So
he's on the Michael Penix plan, but the opposite. He goes to Indiana to finish it out.
Right. I would still want to bet on Carson Beck before I bet on Kurtis Rourke, but I think Rourke's the most intriguing of the developmental day 3 guys this year.
Do you think that we should be giving Carson Beck grace for his performance this year based on just how much that offense lost from last year?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Now, the Texas performance was a disaster, right? Like that was as brutal of a showing where you're seeing he's trying to throw with chemistry with receivers that he just doesn't have chemistry with. And I think he's one of those guys that's going to be very situation dependent at the NFL level for how much success he's going to have. But I think all of these guys are to some degree. So I think he does a lot of really likable things. I think he's playing in unideal offensive circumstances I do think they've been banged up a little bit on the offensive line. They're traditionally always a team that wants to run the ball and have the tight ends involved, and the tight ends haven't really been involved, and the running game's not humming like the way that it was, and then they don't have the dynamic players. So they're kind of personnel-wise, there's some things there that I think make Carson Beck a harder evaluation.
Interesting. Andrew, very interesting. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Andrew says pass interference penalties should count as passing and receiving yards for the offensive players.
You didn't catch the ball.
I also don't think that it should be a spot foul either. So you assume the catch.
I want that one to be the same as college football.
Was it like 10 yards automatic first
15.
down? 15. Yeah, it's got to be pretty aggressive, right? Because it can't be that beneficial to interfere. But
can it be a spot foul if it's inside of 15 yards?
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it. But
So
don't you
if
think
it's pass interference at the 7 yards downfield and it's 7 yards, automatic first down?
it's messy, right? This is messy.
Yeah.
But I like that. I hate the spot foul. It's like, oh, here you launch an underthrown pass. The
Right,
receiver has to go back to it. Now you get a 60-yard gain.
yards.
Like, what the
Yeah.
frick's going on with this, man? Yeah. Okay. But definitely not stats. But
Right.
no,
Right.
here's my take. Intentional grounding should be a sack. You should get credit with a sack.
Yes, you should.
Like that's well, am I?
Yeah, I mean,
is that
how
a
many
double
times do you
standard?
see a guy who's in the grasp and he just
Boy, I
throws
like
one
sacks
out
too.
there?
I like
that
sacks
is-
more
it
than
is- It
touchdowns,
is
Kyle.
unequivocally a sack because you lose it down and the ball goes to where the penalty occurred.
Right.
So that is a sack. Give the guy credit for the sack.
Bub, for the first time since the 2019-2020 season, the NFC's lowest seed will have an outright better record than the AFC's lowest seed.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're both in on that. Let's sneak one more in here. Von Tell. More defensive tackles will get drafted than offensive tackles and wide receivers, not combined, in the 2025 draft. Well, that's the whole draft. I thought he said I gave you this take thinking he was saying first round. Does anybody know the answer to this right now? Like,
Probably not. But what I can tell you is,
historically, that's crazy.
well, how many teams roster more wide receivers than defensive tackles? Probably all of them.
Well, Kyle Crabbs, I happen to have a team that has the same amount of both, 5 and 5.
Okay, well, that's I would agree more than tackles because there's only so many roster spots that are going to go to tackles.
Well, he says and wide receivers. Kyle, you and I know the math on this. Like 40 receivers get drafted every year.
Right.
And about 15 to 20 defensive tackles get drafted.
So I'm going to say
There's
no.
no chance. There's usually 30 offensive tackles.
Light him up, Joe.
Von Tell, this is your worst
Light him
take
up.
yet. You are not back. You have regressed, sir. Week
Oh,
over
no.
week. A
Call
regression.
him out as we bring
The
this
Von
to
Tell
a
regression.
close.
There's no math that supports this whatsoever.
You're on Locked On NFL.
When I saw this take, I thought he was saying first round. I'm like, I like Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Maybe somebody will take Deone Walker or whatever. I'm like, maybe this will be true. No, dude, the whole draft, buddy.
It's going to do it for us here on Locked On NFL Scouting. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino, appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We hope you come back and see us again Monday. We are reacting to week 8 of the NFL season, week 9 of the college football season. We hope to see you then.